Good day, Philippines. Hello, Region 1. Aloha, San Carolinian learners. Airing live from the mango bamboo capital of the Philippines, San Carlos City. You're tuning in to CCN Broadcast Center, a virtual home of every SDO-SEC learner, where passion is the key. Learning paves the way. With our division mantra, developing creativity, maximizing versatility. This is your CCN Broadcast Center. CCN Broadcast Center, a virtual home of every SDO-SEC learner.
Good day to all learners at home. Welcome to CCN Broadcast Center. I am Mom Remylyn, your teacher today. Make sure that you're in comfortable place and get ready to watch, learn, and explore for today's lesson. You learn how to add and subtract decimal. This time, it's all about multiplying them. Today, you will learn about multiplying decimals. And this lesson is for elementary level. After studying this lesson, you should be able to multiply decimals. Are you excited to learn? But first, before we start, here are some reminders to keep in mind. Number 1, stay alert and focus to the lesson. Number 2, prepare your pen and paper. And number 3, sit back and relax as you enjoy the lesson today. Before we proceed to our lesson, let's try to answer the question by yes or no. Number 1. Is 8.1 a decimal number? Yes or no? Correct. The answer is yes. Number 2. Is 9,749 a decimal number? Yes or no? You're right. The answer is no. And number 3, is 195.45 a decimal number? Yes or no? Correct. The answer is yes. And last, number 4, is 9/3 a decimal number? Yes or no? Correct. The answer is no, because 9/3 is a fraction. Now, before we start, let us discuss first about decimals. Do you have any idea what is a decimal number? Where do we use decimal numbers? Okay, listen carefully and understand. Decimal number is often used to mean a number that uses a decimal point followed by digits that show a value smaller than 1. A decimal number can be based on the number 10 and it contains decimal point. We use decimal number every day while dealing with money, weight, length, etc. Decimal number are used in situations where more precision is required than whole numbers can provide. For example, when we calculate our weight in a weighing machine, we do not always find the weight equal to a whole number on the scale, right? Yes, that's right. Okay, for example, my weight is 129.3. Because my weight is not equal to a whole number, that's why it expressed in decimal number. What about you? What is your weight? Try to weigh yourself in a weighing machine. Now, how do we multiply decimal? How do you multiply decimals? Okay, again, listen carefully and understand. Decimals are multiplied the same way whole numbers are, but there's an important difference. The difference is that decimal have decimal point, while whole numbers don't. When we say whole numbers, these are the number starting at 0 and counting up forever, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and so on. Again, remember, decimal number have decimal point. Now, let's try to solve this. Let's study and analyze the following example to help you understand the process of multiplying decimal. So, let's try to solve number 1. What is the product of 0.7 and 0.8? 0.7 times 0.8 is equal to 0.56. 0.7 is the multiplicand and 0.8 is the multiplier. Or this both called factors. 0.56 is the final product or the product. To illustrate to you how to arrive the correct place of the decimal point in the product, let's convert the factors into their fractional form. This is one way on how or finding the product of a decimal number. So we have 0.7 becomes 7 over 10 and 0.8 becomes 8 over 10. When we multiply 7 times 8, that is equal to 56. And 10 times 10 is equal to 100. So the product is equal to 56 over 100. In a decimal form, it is 0.56. Now, another way in finding the product of a decimal number is by using a short method by multiplying the factors. Okay, so we have 0.7 times 0.8. 0.7 has one decimal place and 0.8 has one decimal place. A total of 2 decimal places, right? When we multiply 8 times 7, that is equal to 56. After computing the final product, let's put the decimal point by counting the decimal places from the first digit on the right going to the left. Now, let's count. 1 and 2. So the decimal point is here. And the product has 2 decimal places. Did you get the correct answer? Okay, therefore, the product of 0.7 and 0.8 is 0.56. Now, let's solve number 2. 0.25 and 0.6. Let's follow the illustration and the first example. Let's convert the factor into fractional form. So we have 0.25 becomes 25 over 10 and 0.6 becomes 6 over 10. When we multiply 25 times 6, that is equal to 150 and 10 times 10 is 100. So the product is equal to 150 over 100. In a decimal form, it is 0.150. Using the short method, let's multiply the factor. When you multiply 6 times 5, that is equal to 30. Write 0 below the column of 5 and 6 and regroup 3 above 2 in the multiplicand. Now, multiply 6 times 2 is equal to 12. Add 3, that was regrouped. So 12 plus 3 is equal to 15. Write 15 in the left of 0. After computing the final product, we will put the decimal point in its proper place by counting the total number of the decimal places of the factor. So 0.25 has 2 decimal places and 0.6 has 1 decimal place, a total of 3 decimal places. Now, we will put the decimal point 3 places from the right going to the left. Let's count. 1, 2, and 3. So the decimal point is here. And the product has 3 decimal places. Therefore, the product of 0.25 and 0.6 is 0.150. Did you get the correct answer? That's great. So did you notice that in example 1 and 2, the number of the decimal places in the product is the same as the sum of the decimal place of the factor? Yes, that's right. Now, when we multiply decimal, it is very important to follow the step, just like following the health guidelines by IATF, to wear mask and sanitize your hands. It is very important, so you have to follow. Okay? So, using the step-by-step process, let's multiply or let's find the product of 3.7 and 1.68. So, the first step is write the multiplicand and the multiplier or the factors in the column with the first digit on the right aligned. Take note. Choose the number with less number digit to be the multiplier for easier computation. So what do you think is the multiplier in this case? Very good. So in this case, 3.7 is the multiplier. So we have 1.68 times 3.7. Now, step 2. Compute for the first partial product using the multiplier 7. Let's start. Multiply 7 times 8, that is equal to 56. Write 6 below the column of 8 and 7 and regroup 5 above 6 in the multiplicand. Now, multiply 7 times 6 is equal to 42. Add 5, that was regrouped. So, 42 plus 5 is equal to 47. Write 7 below the column of 6 and regroup 4 above 1 in the multiplicand. Now, multiply 7 times 1, that is equal to 7. Add 4, that was regrouped. So, 7 plus 4 is equal to 11. Write 11 in the left of 7. Therefore, 1,176 is the first partial product. Did you get the correct answer? That's great. Next step, step 3. Compute for the second partial product using the multiplier 3. Now, let's start. 3 times 8 is equal to 24. Write 4 below the column of 3 and regroup 2 above 6 in the multiplicand. Now, multiply 3 times 6 is equal to 18. Add 2, that was regrouped. So, 18 plus 2 is equal to 20. Write 0 below 1 in the first partial product and regroup 2 above 1 in the multiplicand. Now, multiply 3 times 1 is equal to 3. Add 2, that was regrouped. So, 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. Write 5 in the other digit of 1 in the first partial product. Therefore, 504 is the second partial product. Did you get the correct answer? That's great! Now, step 4. Add the first and second partial product to get the final product. Let's start. Bring down 6 in the same column. Add 7 plus 4 is equal to 11. Write 1 below the column of 7 and 4 and regroup 1 in the 100 place of the first partial product. Now, let's add 1 plus 0 is equal to 1. Add 1, that was regrouped. So, 1 plus 1 is 2. Write 2 below the column of 1 and 0. Next, add 1 1 plus 5 is 6. Okay. So after computing the final product, next step, step 5, put the decimal point in its proper place by counting the total number of the decimal places of the factor starting from the first digit on the right going to the left. Okay, so the multiplicand has 2 decimal places, and in the multiplier we have 1 decimal place, a total of 3 decimal places. Now, we will put the decimal point 3 places from the right going to the left. Let's count. 1, 2, and 3. So the decimal point is here. And the product has 3 decimal places. Therefore, the product of 3.7 and 1.68 is 6.216. Did you get the correct answer? Very good! Now, it's your turn. Solve the following on your own using a short method of multiplying decimal. Just follow the step in multiplication of decimal. I will give you 30 seconds to answer. Are you ready? And your time starts now. So time's up. Are you done? So let's see if your answer is correct. Let's solve number 1. 0.3 times 0.4. Using a short method, let's multiply the factors. When you multiply 4 times 3, that is equal to 12. Okay. So after computing the final product, put the decimal point by counting the decimal places of the factor. So 0.3 has 1 decimal place and 0.4 has 1 decimal place, a total of 2 decimal places. So we will put the decimal point 2 places from the right going to the left. Now let's count. 1 and 2. So the decimal point is here. Therefore, the product of 0.3 and 0.4 is 0.12. Did you get the correct answer? Very good. Let's try to solve number 2. 0.15 times 2. So, using a short method on multiplying the factors. Okay, 0.15 times 2. When you multiply 2 times 5, that is equal to 10. Write 0 below the column of 5 and 2. And regroup 1 above 1 in the multiplicand. Now, multiply 2 times 1 is equal to 2. Add 1, that was regrouped. So 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. Write 3 below the column of 1. After computing the final product, we will put the decimal point by counting the decimal places of the factor. So 0.15 has 2 decimal places and 2 has no decimal place, a total of 2 decimal places. Now, we will put the decimal point 2 places from the right going to the left. Let's count. 1 and 2. So the decimal point is here. Therefore, the product of 0.15 and 2 is 0.30. Do we have the same answer? That's great! Now, for the last number, number 3. 12.3 times 0.6. Multiplying the factors. So we have 12.3 times 6. When we multiply 6 times 3, that is equal to 18. Write 8 below the column of 3 and 6. And regroup 1 above 2 in the multiplicand. Next, multiply 6 times 2, that is equal to 12. Add 1, that was regrouped. So, 12 plus 1 is equal to 13. Write 3 below the column of 2. And regroup 1 above 1 in the multiplicand. Next, multiply 6 times 1 is equal to 6. Add 1, that was regrouped. So, 6 plus 1 is equal to 7. Write 7 below the column of 1. After computing the final product, we will put the decimal point by counting the total number of the decimal place of the factor. So, 12.3 has 2 decimal places, 1 decimal place. And 0.6 has 1 decimal place, a total of 2 decimal places. Now, we will put the decimal point 2 places from the right going to the left. Let's count. 1 and 2. So the decimal point is here. Therefore, the product of 12.3 and 0.6 is 7.38. Did you get all the correct answer? Very good. If not, don't worry. Just keep on practicing for you to master the process. And always remember this, that in multiplication, the answer is called the product. The multiplicand is the number to be multiplied by another, and the multiplier is the number by which the multiplicand is multiplied. The multiplicand and the multiplier are called factors. The number of decimal places in the product is the same as the sum of the decimal place of the factors. And the position of the decimal place, decimal point of the product is determined by counting the total number of the decimal places starting from the first digit on the right going to the left. Did you understand? That's great! So for your assessment, you are now going to apply your knowledge in multiplication of decimals. Try working on your own and do the following. Just follow the step-by-step process without necessarily showing the direction of the process itself. Just your own solution. Just your solution, and I will give you 1 minute to answer. Are you ready? And your time starts now. Are you done? Okay. Now, let's see if your answer is correct. Number 1. 4.7 times 2.9. If your answer is 13.63, you are correct. Number 2. 3.45 times 2.1. If your answer is 7.245, you are correct. Do we have the same answer? That's great. Number 2. 23.75 times 2.5. If your answer is 59.375, you are correct. And last, number 4. Since the number to be multiplied are both with a 3-digit number, either of them can be the multiplier or the multiplicand. So, if your answer is 46.875, you are correct. So, did you get all the perfect score? That's great! So, if you want to compare your answer and solution, just read the answer K of Learning Strand 3, Quarter 2, Module 3, Lesson 3, Week 9 on page 44 and 45. Now, you learn how to multiply decimals. It is very important to practice for you to master the process. But before that, I would like to have correction about 0.25 and 0.25 become 25 over 10 because it has two decimal places. That's why 0.25 become 25 over 100 times 6 become 6 over 10. So the answer is 150 or 0.15. Okay. So now, for your assignment, do the following exercise. So that's it. I hope you learned a lot from today's session. Okay, always remember to wear your mask and sanitize your hands. Once again, this is Teacher Remylyn saying, sa ALS, matututo ka, tara na! Bye! Have a nice day!
Good day, Philippines. Hello, Region 1. Aloha, San Carlinian learners. Airing live from the mango bamboo capital of the Philippines, San Carlos City. You're tuning into CCN Broadcast Center, a virtual home of every SDO-SEC learner, where passion is the key. Learning paves the way. With our division mantra, developing creativity, maximizing versatility. This is your CCN Broadcast Center. CCN Broadcast Center, a virtual home of every SDO-SEC learner.